On Tuesday, January 6, 2024, the 21st Center for Values in Leadership (CVL) Annual Lecture and International Leadership Symposium, themed Democracy, Governance, and National Performance, convened at the Muson Center in Unikon, Lagos, commemorating the 68th birthday of Professor Pat Utomi. The honoree, Professor Pat Utomi, was accompanied by his immediate family, notably his wife, Dr. Ifeoma Utomi, and daughter, Isioma Utomi. Distinguished guests in attendance included architect Obong Victor Atta, serving as the chairman of the occasion, Senator Aminu Tambuwal, former governor of Sokoto State, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule, His Excellency Peter G. Obi, former governor of Anambra State, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, former Commonwealth Secretary General, His Royal Highness Unaemeka Alfred Achebe, the Obi of Onitsha, Don Etiebet Jr., Senator Eyinaya Abaribi, Prince Bisi Olatilo, Chairman CEO of Biscon Television, Professor Osita Ogbu, OON, Pastor Itwa Igodalo, among others. In her opening remarks, Professor Ifeoma Utomi, the wife of the celebrant and chairman of the Board of Trustees of CVL, extended a warm welcome to all attendees, underscoring the day's significance as a moment of gratitude and reflection within the Center for Values and Leadership's continuum of activities.
Eminent guests, and I warmly welcome you to this celebration today. It is indeed a triple celebration. So we're indeed very honored and delighted that you're here. In many ways, the CVL annual lecture is for us a time of unusual Thanksgiving. In my time of full work as a professor at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, my goal is to enhance smiles. And I find that the many CVL programs do put smiles on many faces. I feel that as a double-barrel achievement. And so on that note, I once again warmly welcome you all and wish us all a very enlightening and fulfilling day. Thank you very much.
Expressing gratitude to the special guests and attendees, Professor Pat Utomi characterized the occasion as one of thanksgiving and introspection, emphasizing the imperative love in leadership.
Today is a time of thanksgiving, it's a time for stock taking. But in taking stock, it is important to recognize that there is good and there is bad in this world. But our purpose is what really matters. Our purpose is to be co-creators with God, moving creation towards its perfection. And all the effort that has come through in trying to run all the programs that CVL has run, it's about how to make for a better world so that those who come after us will have a more noble humanity. And in going through that this morning, I want to say that my remarks are written down in this little magazine brochure that is with you, and you can read it at your leisure. There's plenty to read in it. Actually, this is a collector's item. Please keep it and read every word that is printed there. But really, truly, what I wanted to focus on is that in spite of all that seems bad, there's so much good that has been done in this country. And some of those who have done that good are in this room. And we want to salute them.
Chairman of the occasion, architect Obong Victor Atta, provided an overview of the day's agenda, emphasizing the importance of upholding democratic principles through effective implementation.
I welcome you. Today we have come to launch a book that I believe will provide solutions for some of the problems that we have always had opportunity to analyze. But before we do that, we are going to have a lecture. And the topic of the lecture is democracy, governance, and national performance, the mutual relationship. Within the lecture, we are expected to discuss power, politics, public process, and performance. And I would like to add people, because all of these are aimed at getting us a better country, a better people in the world, particularly in our country. We have always had analysis of our problems, but sometimes we shy away from preferring solutions. And when those solutions have been brought forward, we are not able to implement them. Maybe the time has come for us to realize that unless we take some positive action, nothing will happen. We'll continue to grumble, and the situation will only get worse. It is not my place to provide the lecture today, but I know that in politics, perhaps it is in politics that the saying that power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely is very true. It is in politics that absolute power will corrupt to the point that, in fact, the person exercising the power does not know his excesses anymore. He takes it as the norm. And that sort of absolutism has no place in democracy. So today, we must concentrate on democratic principles and insist that our country follows them. And of course, the primary basis of democracy is elections. We have to find a way of getting our elections right.
Keynote speaker, Professor Peter Lewis, an associate professor at Johns Hopkins University, delivered a thought-provoking lecture on democracy, governance, and national performance, addressing developmental challenges and violence in Nigeria within the context of the Fourth Republic, while proposing strategies for enhancing national equilibrium and progress.
And this is where Nigeria is. So we see the security challenge. We see the security deficit. And here there are two forces at work with regard to security. One is an elite problem and one is a grassroots problem. Nigeria's political class has encouraged significant drivers of violence. It's not universal, but it's common enough to be a problem. We see polarizing rhetoric. We see a variety of laws on indigenes and land use and other domains that divide communities. And in addition, many politicians or political aspirants have turned to violence in elections and collusion with armed groups in the search for power. Again, it may be a minority issue within political aspirants, but it is common enough to exert substantial effects. At the mass level, turning away from the elites, we see at the grassroots, in outlying regions or in areas with sharp divisions, many people have turned to violent mobilization to press their claims. This may be influenced by the tactics of politicians, but it also reflects the efforts of community entrepreneurs with a variety of agendas, not all of them beneficial. In many instances, we see a dramatic escalation of violence when armed groups and activist agendas and abuses by state security forces combine to inflame conflict.
A pre-recorded intervention and felicitations from Bishop Kuka, Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, were presented. His Excellency Chukwuma Soludo, Executive Governor of Anambra State, emphasized the necessity of leadership reform, particularly in strengthening subnational entities and fostering robust institutions crucial to societal advancement. The book, Why Not?, authored by Professor Pat Utomi, underwent a succinct review by Professor Osita Obi.
In Pat Utomi's book, you will confront our reality, appreciate the different and more informed perspectives, and perhaps have a better understanding of state policy making and state performance under different regimes. It's worth repeating that the book is both historical, contemporary, and futuristic. As my late distinguished teacher, Professor S. Kotoya, would say, any analysis not grounded in history is ahistorical. and has tainted value at best. I wondered why our nation stopped teaching history to our students. I hear some state governors have also picked that up now. They are teaching history. History is the superstructure of any society. So what did Pat do with these various epochs? There are different institutional and elite culture in each of these: military, colonial, post-military. And the contestation between the elites was very obvious in those. And the outcome of this contestation depends on the political elite legitimacy. He emphasized this point: knowledge and ideology of the bureaucratic elite expertise. It will be worse if those political elites do not know, or their values do not align with theirs. As Pat puts it, public policy is conceived as mainly the product of competing values within the policy formulating elite in determining a particular course of action. In this contestation of power, he dwelt on the issue of legitimacy of the political elite.
Engineer Sule Abdullahi, the executive governor of Nasarawa State, extended felicitations to the celebrant, urging leaders to make integrity-driven decisions and lead by example to promote democracy and good governance.
So I want to wish you first a happy birthday and want to thank you sincerely for inviting me to this event. Is this democracy the kind of democracy we really will practice? Is it the kind of democracy we really want? I know you will be surprised that a governor will be speaking this way. I went to school in America. After that, I lived and worked in America. And I know we are practicing the American system. But America is not Nigeria. The people are different. The environment is different. Our attitude is different. The culture is different. So why must we think that we can import something from America and it will work perfectly for us as it is working for Americans? So, and I think this is one of the things we have to look at. I love the comment made by the book reviewer when he said we have to engage the world, but engage the world with our own story. And when I say our own story, not a borrowed story. Recently, I was actually in Rwanda. And a lot of us are now commending Rwanda, commending the president, the good things that he is doing in Rwanda. Is it very popular with the West? Today it's not. But is it popular for him in his country? Is it working for his people? Yes, it is. So are we waiting for somebody to allow us to develop a democracy that is good for us? We should not. I always feel sad when I hear people that, will they allow us to do it? Nobody will allow you. We have to pick it up on our own and do it the way we want it for the good of our people and move on.
During a plenary session, moderated by Professor Franklin Ugu, a distinguished panel of discussants offered diverse perspectives on the central theme.
This is indeed a very important question. I recall that a few months ago, we were invited by President Olusegun Obasanjo, I thought he was going to be here, on the same topic, talking about whether the Western democracy, in this case, the presidential system of government, is working here in Nigeria. And the consensus, the common ground at that discussion was that we need to retweak and rework the system and bring it closer home. Yes, Nigeria has some similarities in terms of its diversities with America as a continent, as a country, but not everything about America is similar about Nigeria. So the presidential system of government that we've been practicing since 1979, when you compare it with the particularly parliamentary system that we have practiced from 50s up to 66, is completely different. And I believe that those who experienced the parliamentary system are saying that Nigeria was better off with the parliamentary system of government than what we have now.
I do think that states have sufficient power to be able to drive the fundamental change that they need to meet their social contract to the people. In my experience in the past, before I took this job, I had worked in the development firm for a long time, and I understand there are certain fundamentals. While the politics is important, the politics of delivery is underpinned by the right policies, also having the right implementation culture. And Professor Ositobu had talked about something in his comment which talks about strong institutions. And we've been talking about this for quite a bit. So what the governor of Enugu State had done through his team was to identify that evidence-based decision-making is critical. So there's no way you're going to set out to achieve a level of very fundamental, irreversible change if you don't understand the fundamentals driven by empirical evidence.
Democracy has certain simple principles, which is the person who votes, his vote must count. And that is simplicity. Once we go beyond that, then what we're doing is that we just complicate issues for ourselves. And as I'm sitting here, I can tell you in the last election, I defeated a sitting governor because people voted for me and nobody manipulated the result. Simple. If people manipulate results and another person emerges, that person does not have what we will call legitimacy. And it is a fact of life that when you are not legitimate, it is impossible for you to engender the, I would say, the support of the populace. And what is going on today, whether it is in the state, whether it is in the National Assembly, whether it's in the presidency, is that people are adjudged not to have legitimacy. And they're finding it difficult to take that decision that Governor Sule just said.
There is a difference in between collaboration and authority. It's totally different. Like Sule said, if the president decides that things will work, it's like this in security. It's either you're in charge or you're not in charge. If we're at war, we declare war. So you need a president who is determined, gives the governor authority, the governor takes the authority and go and do it. Like Sule said, if the president decides today to stop corruption, you don't need the FCC. If you're not stealing, your wife is not stealing, your children are not involved, you reduce it by 60%. Everybody will run for cover. But when your wife, your children, everybody is doing their own, people will help them. And that's what is happening. You know?
The audience, including esteemed guests such as Chairman Architect Obong Victor Atta, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, Dr. Chris Asoluka, Prince Bisi Olatilo, Olabode Olanikwekun San, amongst others, actively participated, posing interventions and questions which were addressed adeptly by the panel. The event culminated in a book launch and cake cutting ceremony facilitated by the Master of Ceremonies, Jide Benson, featuring special musical performances by TK and Biodun Koya, which concluded the proceedings.